Hello, Granny Annie. Are you still here? Are we still in January? Is it 2025? Sorry for being late. Thank you for hanging out and being in my chat. Are you still here? Can you hear me? Is this on? Man, I was like speed talking in my earlier live. That was a quick one. And now I am not having to do that. So I'm excited about that. I am a little bit tired. I've been having to get up way too early lately. And I'm also hungry. So I've got some homemade, what did I make? Mushroom soup, cream of mushroom soup. So if you don't mind me slurping, I'll just eat some cream of mushroom soup while we're getting ready to chat away. You are here. Awesome. And Anna Bees. Hola from Felipe. Hi, Annie and Jazz and everyone. So yeah, we have 3 people. We got 1 like. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Let's do the little thummy thumb. The big thummy thumb. And do the rundown of everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And please make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, and if you're not, consider doing that. It's very helpful and it's free, commitment free. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel and turn on your notification bell to ring. And I'm going to take a bite of soup and then try to get going. I almost never eat when I'm videotaping, but I was starving. I didn't want to postpone any longer than I had already postponed. I just uploaded my yoga video. Sounds so good. Chilly in Felipe. Soup season. Yeah, it was -3 degrees when I left the house this morning. That is rough. Luckily, I was in the Subaru and it has a heater in the seat. Thank goodness, because it was bad. It was really bad. So I came on earlier today. I don't think that you were here, Granny Annie. Oh, unless you came in right at the end, didn't you? And Anna Bees, were you here? Homemade mushroom soup. How do you make it? If I told you, I'd be embarrassed. I just have, it's really, really simple. Chicken stock and sliced mushrooms and some half and half. So, I mean, I love cream of mushroom soup, but it's just a little not so healthy. It could use a little salt and pepper, but that's all right. Yeah, so I'll tell you a couple of quick soup ideas, and then we can start talking cases. One of my favorite soups that I haven't made in forever, and I have all the ingredients so I can make it now, is a lentil soup with carrots, celery, onion, and potato. You dice all those up. You can either just put them right into the soup, or you can like stir fry them in olive oil before you put them in the soup for some extra flavor. And then for flavoring, I actually use a giant can of V8 juice, and it is so good with just lentils. It's delicious. So 3 stalks of celery, 3 potatoes, 3 onions, and 3 carrots. It's super, super easy. And it's so healthy, so delicious. And yeah, then you want to have cumin in there. That's like the key ingredient in lentil soup to make it taste like lentil soup. And I forget what else. I'm sure Google knows. The other soup that I love to make, kind of another like lazy person soup making, is just a bag of frozen vegetables, coconut milk, and then some more vegetables like mushrooms, sliced mushrooms or something like that. And you can put chicken in there. So it's kind of like a Thai soup almost with the coconut milk. I like things that are simple, especially these days. I used to do a lot more cooking, but you know, after cooking about 50,000 meals for your family, you get a little burnt out on it. So it is nice to have homemade food, but I like to take shortcuts. So let's talk about these damn cases. And is the sound good? Yeah, lentil soup is so good. And that vegetable soup is really good too. I love eating vegetables, you guys. I'm constantly trying to remind you to eat the veggies, and I'm constantly trying to remind me to eat the veggies because I feel amazing when I eat my vegetables. If I eat salad for breakfast and stir fry for lunch, snack on some carrots and celery in the middle of the day, big salad for dinner, or salad and stir fry. Like, you can't overdo it with vegetables. You really can't. It seems like you could. Like salad and stir fry sounds like a weird combination, but try it. It's amazing. It's like power food. And I forget. I literally forget. And I start realizing I'm not eating enough vegetables. So I've been eating a lot more vegetables lately, and I feel great. I ate a whole cauliflower today. That's one I don't like, but good for you. Yeah, I like eggplant a lot. And I don't like Brussels sprouts either. Those are the only two I really have trouble with. Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. Rice cauliflower. Oh, yeah. That is good. I love rice cauliflower. So you guys probably know what that is. Like making fake rice out of cauliflower, then it's really healthy, because rice is super unhealthy for your blood sugar. And I have to be careful with my blood sugar. So let's talk about the things that we were talking about earlier. I wanted to point out some things that I didn't point out while rushing through all of the things that I have in my notes. And I totally missed this one. Okay. I'm okay with people having different views, but I don't feel like I need to argue about the angry orange man baby zombie president being good or bad, because he's just showing his true colors. And I did not know this. I heard this on a YouTube channel a few days ago, like a very reliable, dependable YouTube channel. And I was like, wait, what? And so I Googled it. Did you guys know that Ivana, Trump's first wife, I think they were married for 28 years, the one who dropped dead the day before his depositions were starting, his daughter and his son's depositions the depositions were scheduled for July 15th, 2022, I think. And that was a Friday, and she passed away, I think, Thursday, July 14th, 2022. So then the depositions got canceled, postponed for a long, long time. And that was odd. Okay. Nothing against Ivana at all. Not at all. I think she's a phenomenal individual, or was. Did you know her dad was a KGB spy? So the angry orange man baby zombie president was married to a person, and she was from Czechoslovakia, I think, right? I was kind of confused about which country she was from the other day. But Czechoslovakia is not a country anymore. So that's one reason why that's a little confusing. Anyway, her dad was a KGB spy. You can look it up. It's all over the internet. Ivana Trump's dad, KGB. It's like a freaking James Bond movie. Like, that would completely disqualify somebody from ever becoming president, in my humble opinion. Okay? So, the Delphi suspect is named Ron Logan. I was talking about the new court paperwork that has just been filed. The Richard Allen, who's been convicted of the double homicide, I mean, he confessed to it. He said he did it, but he said it wrong. Like, he said that he buried them in shallow graves, which he didn't. They weren't. There were there was no burying. There was no shallow graves. And then the way that their lives were taken was different than what he said. But this other guy, this other suspect, the one whose property they were on, the one who was on probation, the one who was arrested for violating his probation that day because he was driving a car around, which he wasn't supposed to be doing. Ron Logan. He knew exactly how their lives were ended when he confessed to a cellmate or two that he did indeed take those little girls' lives. So it's just paperwork in the courts. Richard Allen's attorney is trying to make an appeal. It's all crazy. And then I didn't know, because I wasn't following the case, I didn't know that Richard Allen's wife did not testify in the trial. And she said that when she came home from work that day at 5:30, he was sleeping on the couch. So I guess that's like not possible with what happened if he was the one who did it. So anyway, for anybody who doesn't believe that people can get framed, I'm going to go back again to recommending the Sharp Objects miniseries, the HBO, because somebody in that storyline does get framed, and it's really easy to see both why people would believe that he was guilty, and he was so emotionally distraught that he didn't even care. He was just like, go ahead, say I'm guilty, put me in jail. I'm sure you can, so I'm not going to fight it. Because his little sister was one of the victims that was unalived. So that series is so well done. And like I said, for anybody who can't wrap their mind around somebody being framed and fingered and pigeonholed for a crime, the way it looks like potentially Richard Allen was, and potentially Brian Kohberger might be. So, and potentially Scammy Smith, like she might be getting framed, and NK, I think NK is getting framed. Right. So, yeah, crazy. Anna Bees. I ate stingray today. The fish was good. That is insane. Annie Ruler. Stingrays are a thing with surveillance. You know what a stingray is? It's like government has them, and they can drive by your house and they can read all of your electronic devices, I guess. That's what a stingray is. So I thought it was funny you were saying stingray when we were talking about spies. And Anna B says, no, I didn't know Ivana's dad was a KGB spy. It sounds made up, doesn't it? Freaking sounds made up. And it actually also reminds me of the costume, the outfit that Melania was wearing on Inauguration Day, where she looked kind of like a priest and kind of like that spy cartoon with the weird face. I'll have to use it for my thumbnail so you know what I'm talking about. But then I was like, why did she dress like the flying nun for Carter's funeral a few days ago, and then she kind of dresses like a priest for the inauguration? She definitely looked like she was more in mourning at the inauguration than at the funeral. But she got a $40 million movie deal from Bezos from Amazon. So what does she have to be miserable about other than being married to that thing? I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I am just so freaking offended. I am so offended that this is the State of the Union. I'm just dying over here. Jazz, please be careful. I followed the case. The girl's phone stopped moving when they got in vehicle. TNT lines up all witness statements and videos. Impossible timing, not in my opinion. Okay, Granny Annie, you know that's a channel that I just can't. So yeah, I'm not saying that anything is or isn't in the Delphi case. I'm just saying that like in my earlier video, I linked up a Lawyer Lee video that she just dropped where she reads the the court documents that have just been filed by Richard Allen's attorney. And, they did put him in solitary confinement illegally for a very long time. And pretty much, like, you can get anybody to confess to anything if you torture them long enough. It happens all the time, Anna Bees. I agree with you. Yes, Stingray intercepts phone calls. Mine was a fish on the Mailcon. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right. Can you imagine having to kiss him? Or worse, Anna Bees, especially when he's out screwing everything in a skirt when you're giving birth to his freaking baby. I don't know how she does it. Like, I used to feel sorry for her. I don't anymore. I don't really have any respect for her. She seems like a robot or something. I don't know. I do not know. I mean, obviously she puts up with him just so she can be rich and powerful. And I'm so sick of his obsession with rich, powerful people. Like, did you guys hear what he said about the fires on Inauguration Day, about the California fires? This is kind of a quote, not verbatim, but close. He says something to the effect of, even the houses of some very rich and powerful people were burned down. And some of those very rich, powerful people are here and their houses are burned down, so they don't have houses anymore. I find that interesting. He said that. Isn't that interesting? What is TNT? It's a Truth and Transparency. This is the name of the channel. And the reason I have such a huge issue with it, one of the many reasons, is because she mocked Shanann and the girls. She dressed up as zombie Shanann. She dressed up her boy child as zombie Bella for Halloween. Like, this was years ago. I think she's apologized, but it's like, who in the world would do that? And yeah, if you Google it or do a search on YouTube, you can find it. Like, I mean, you have to do more than apologize after doing something like that. Like, I just think she's insane. And she lives in this state, so I don't know. It's gross. And she's always suing everybody. So yeah, she can sue me for not liking her. And I know Annie loves her, and Annie's always like, give her another chance. I've tried. I can't. I just can't. So let's see. Is Annie muted permanently or just about her comment? What? Nobody got muted, did they? I didn't see anybody get muted. Oh, I can't stand her, Anna B says. Yeah. She's one of those content creators that will just like constantly rip off every content creator's ideas and never give any content creator a shout out. And she made a fake channel where she was always talking about how great her other channel was. It was hilarious. It was so funny. So funny. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was so obviously her. And she never talked about any other content creators, just how great she was. It was hilarious. I saw those mocking vids against Shanann and the girls. And her little boy, like her little boy must have been like 3 or 4 at the time. I don't know. But and yeah, just all the lawsuits. I mean, she loves to drag people. Like, she's a drag. I wish her well. I hope she can like grow and be a better person. So, what else? The Munchausen's van proxy. That is a hard concept to wrap your mind around. I first learned of Munchausen's van proxy when I was in graduate school in my abnormal psychology class, where we had to learn, basically we had to like memorize all the diagnoses from the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and we had to learn about them and learn what they were. And that was the weirdest diagnosis in the world because I had never heard of it. It's a weird name. So you have Munchausen's, people who make themselves sick to get sympathy and attention. And then you have Munchausen's von proxy, which is a caretaker making somebody that they care for sick so that they look like the wonderful caretaker. So they look like the hero kind of thing and get people's attention. And there was a Munchausen's van proxy. The first time I saw it in mainstream media was in The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, the girl that was throwing up all the time. So it's real typical. Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps. Real typical that it's the mom usually, and that they poison the kid, and that, Gypsy Rose, her mother had Munchausen's. And a lot of times the intention isn't to red rum, it's just to manipulate, but then they take it too far. And that's the problem with any child abuse or domestic violence. It's not, a lot of the fatalities aren't intentional fatalities, they're accidental. And that's even a lot of the fatalities with child abuse that are sheerly neglect and not outright physical violence or anything like that, but just the neglect. That when you're neglecting your kids, like these parents that like go off on vacation and leave their kids home alone, like, I mean, not like the movie Home Alone, but in real life. Neglect is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Kids get into accidents all the time, just, falling off of counters or getting into poison or who knows what. Annabee says, that's when I started hating her. Yeah, I tried to like let it go. I tried to just like not worry about it because a lot of time had passed, but I've tried to sample her again and again, and I just can't. It's just not my cup of tea. I learned about it in nursing school and psychology class. Yeah, so when I first learned about Munchausen's and Munchausen's van proxy, to me it was kind of like fairy tale fable. Like, I didn't realize that people could actually do that and that people could actually do things to make themselves sick. I mean, people will take drastic measures, and that people would do that to somebody else. Like, I mean, I was just so naive. And then, when we look at these cases, when we look at different movies like The Sharp Objects or that Sixth Sense, when we see these things happen, and again, for me, it only dawned on me watching Sharp Objects the first time around a month ago that my father was like a Munchausen's van proxy type of abuser. It had not occurred to me since it was a one-time thing, with the carbon monoxide in the car. So I was talking about that earlier today, because I had kind of a breakthrough when I rewatched The Sharp Objects, really wrapping my mind around the fact that, yes, he wasn't similar to Munchausen's van proxy. He was Munchausen's van proxy. He did poison his kids actually with the intent of terminating their lives, me and my sister. And then, I think he was doing it so that he could play my mom like a piano. She had divorced him 5-6 years earlier, and he was trying to get her back. He thought that he could win her back one way or another. Nothing was working. And I think that was like a desperate attempt. And thank goodness for the dog. Thank goodness that it didn't work. My father had a genius IQ, but, he was a dumb mofo. And he probably felt really stupid when he failed at that attempt. And, I was thinking about it after the live today and thinking in my imagination that when he was feeding us the Big Mac meals from McDonald's in the car with it running, we're breathing all the carbon monoxide. He's not. He's got like a little hole in the window up front where he's sitting breathing. He's like coaching us just to like lay down and die, basically. It was really twisted. That was super creepy. Once I was doing all my therapy, it was like, oh my God, he was like coaching us to not be alive anymore. It's crazy. Come here, Mookie. I know it's terrible what I'm saying, isn't it? But what was I trying to say about that? Oh, he probably had rat poison in the car. Because there was a kid at our school who had died of strychnine poisoning. And that was just like, I don't know, a few months before this happened. But also there was a case, I think it was in Texas. So when this happened, it was January of 79. I said 78 earlier, but it had just, the calendar had just turned to 1979. And when I was in first grade, when I was in first grade, so that would have been around 1971, there was a young boy, I think in Texas, I think he was about 7, and his father poisoned his Halloween candy with strychnine, with rat poisoning, to try to cash in on some life insurance. And my father was like obsessed with that case. And we've never lived in Texas. We never really traveled through Texas. We were living in San Francisco when that happened with the 7-year-old boy. And come on, Coco, come here. Thanks, hon. So anyway, if he had strychnine in the car and could have, like, after we were passed out, if he could have put strychnine in our systems and then pretended that the strychnine was in the McDonald's food, I know I'm getting a little creative here, but I'm thinking that that's where he was headed, that it wasn't that he was just trying to get life insurance. There may or may not have been life insurance. I've never been able to figure that out or get any evidence on that, but it was only today that I realized why he fed us dinner before trying to do us in, was so that he could sue McDonald's. I'm sure of it. And I spoke with my sister about it, and she was like, yep, absolutely. So let's see. I wrote about a paper about it, but I read it later and think I got some of my examples wrong. I didn't understand it enough back then. It's so weird to wrap your mind around that type of thing. I mean, like I said, of all of the abnormal psychology, of all the diagnoses, that was the only one that just had me stymied. And I was just sort of like, yeah, right, as if we'll ever see that in real life. And I was just going to say, this is denial. This is how PTSD and denial go hand in hand. I was just going to say, and in real life, I don't think I ever have seen Munchausen's found proxy, even though I just realized a month ago that my father was kind of having tendencies like that. And then I realized in the last few days that it wasn't just tendencies, but he fit the bill. Yeah. Like I said, denial, it ain't just a river in Egypt. And denial is a defense mechanism that we use to try to keep ourselves sane when shit's so freaking crazy. It's just like, you just have to go into denial and go, oh yeah, I've never seen anybody in real life with the Munchausen's found proxy. Oh wait, other than my dad. Right. I was just saying that, wasn't I? Okay. So what else do we got in here that I wanted to share with you guys? So I am a huge Bernie Sanders fan. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to him for years. I was devastated when, in my opinion, Hillary Clinton sabotaged him to be on the ticket in the 2016 election. And I've pretty much always hated her for that, because I think she did some real underhanded crap. And I think that Bernie had a much better chance at winning that 2016 election. And I think he would have been the most amazing president in the world, like maybe even more amazing than Jimmy Carter was. I don't know. in my opinion, from my perspective. So he's phenomenal, and he has his own YouTube channel. And I just happened to stumble across a video in the last 24 hours of him and Jon Stewart having a conversation for about an hour. And I'll put a link to that in the description. I watched the entire thing, even though it was an entire month old. And a lot of times I like to just watch, the freshest content. But I'm so glad that I watched the whole thing, because it was really remarkable. And he's so smart and he's so articulate. Oh my goodness. The man knows things. He really knows things. And I wish I could just vote for Jon Stewart for president. I'll just say it. I think he should run. Okay. So, yeah, that Richard Allen case, the Delphi case, there's just so many suspicious things around it. And like I said, I've not studied the case. I don't really know the case. I know that I've seen the crime scene photographs because one of my content creator friends sent them to me with my permission, and I've shared them with some of you. If you want to see them and you haven't yet, you're welcome to send me an email at JusticeAtooZ@gmail.com. And if you're a regular in my chat, I'll just send it, no questions asked. Oh, you know what, Granny Annie? I might have not seen one of your comments because I had it on top chat, not live chat. I had it on live chat earlier and it switched. So that might be what you were talking about a few minutes ago. Sorry about that. So I'll go back and see if if you can like cut and paste it and do your comment again, and I can read it out loud. Is this it? This was this might be it. This was 16 minutes ago. I died when my guy refused to believe Biden's daughter admits showering with her father made her hypersexual. It's in her book, and Snopes changed their story. I don't believe Snopes at all, ever. Like, they're like the opposite of the truth. Like they're invented to gaslight, in my opinion. And yeah, I've never heard that, Annie. That's pretty wild. It's pretty gross. Is Annie muted permanently or just about her comment? Now it makes sense, because yeah, that was just a minute, and that was your Annie Ruler account asking about your Annie Ruler account. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, Granny Annie traveling again says adios. I'm just catching that now. And yeah. Anna B says, oh, wow, sorry. So sorry, Jazz. And I don't know if you're talking about for the Munchausen's crap. I mean, and I said it in the video earlier today in the live. It's like, I'm happy that I'm the person that I am, and I wouldn't be the person that I am had I not had to deal with that. And in a way, it really gives me character. I know that sounds weird, but it's like I understand things on a level that I wouldn't understand if I hadn't been through that. And even just like knowing what PTSD is, because I'm like a trained expert in PTSD, plus I'm like a real life walking case of it. And it's like learning about it in books is very different than living it. So I'm glad as an expert that I actually know what it's like too. And it's different for everybody. So just because I know what it's like for me and I know what it's like in books, it doesn't mean I'm an expert on other people and their PTSD. What else was it that I wanted to say about that with the PTSD stuff? There was something really important that came up a second ago and now it's gone again. I hate it when that happens. That happens to me sometimes with like the most important information. It's like I'm afraid of it, so it just like escapes. That's why I have to write stuff down so the important information doesn't escape. But it was something about the PTSD and learning about it from the inside and how it's different for everybody. Yeah, it's gone. Maybe it'll come back. A lot of times you just have to relax the brain muscle and then it'll come back. If you try too hard, it just chases it off. It's a horrible thing. Our brains can't comprehend it. Can't comprehend the trauma and yeah, just trying to understand it, trying to make sense of it. Denial is actually a very, very important element and a tool that we use to survive. And when you're doing therapy with somebody, you don't want to break down their defense mechanisms and their denial. You need to let them do that at their own pace. You don't want to burst their bubble. I mean, sometimes you might feel inclined to nudge them slightly. Sometimes that might be okay. But for the most part, you need to let them dismantle that as they go. So I've never heard that either. I don't believe it. So that was 3 minutes ago, and now I'm so confused, Annabees. See, this is what happens when I do my lives later in the day. The brain just starts melting, and yeah. What was it? Oh, I don't know what it was. Help me out here. Oh, it was about Biden. Yeah. Ugh, gross. And yeah, I mean, when people I know what it was. When people disclose their trauma, a lot of times that's like the knee-jerk reaction is to not believe them. Like I said earlier, when I first would disclose to people about realizing that my father had tried to take my life, and I wasn't so solid about it, but I knew that it was true and I would present it as if it were true. And a lot of people challenged me on it, which really offended me and pissed me off because I'm not going to come up with something like that for fun. No, thank you. Not fun. And what I was going to say about PTSD is it really can become like a competition. And that's what we all need to be aware of. Like when I was in graduate school and I was talking about that I didn't disclose a lot of that trauma with my peer group because I didn't trust them. And there was this competitiveness of who had the worst trauma. And people were trying to wear that crown. They call it war stories, basically, when you're working in a mental health facility, inpatient or outpatient. A lot of people use their trauma as a badge of honor. And it can be a badge of honor that you've survived it, but it doesn't need to be a competition. And you don't need to compare your trauma to somebody else's trauma. And I think it's really important to say that. So that's what it was. That was the super important thing that I had wanted to say that I couldn't remember because it's weird. It's weird that people do that, and people do that. I mean, probably most of you that are listening in the chat right now have experienced that at some point in your life, the kind of the competition for, I don't know, the most sympathy or something. I mean, that's almost like a Munchausen's kind of thing, really. Wanting people's attention because you've been through whatever torture. But often we don't believe people's stories because they sound so far-fetched. And I mean, reading that in the chat, honestly, that was my knee-jerk reaction, was to not believe it. And it's in her book.
Coco, come on. Coco, treat. Come on.
She's like, no, I'm hiding behind my mommy. Go ahead, baby.
Come on, get a treat. Come on.
Go ahead, Coco.
Come on, Coco.
So cute. Okay. What was I saying? Let me have a little bit of soup, see if that helps my brain. Normally, I'm drinking coffee when I'm on my lives, or I've had a lot of coffee. And see, I haven't had a lot of coffee. And it's been a long, many hours since my coffee. If I had a cup of coffee in my hands right now, I could do such a better live, but it's too late. I can't. Anna Bees. Thank you for sharing that. I experienced it in a Facebook grief group. How horrible. Facebook is one of those things, I think, like TikTok, like YouTube, like any of these platforms where it really can bring out the best and the worst, right? And to experience that in a Facebook group would be such a hideous experience. I'm sorry that you went through that, Anna Bees. Yeah, Facebook can be crazy. People are trying to one up each other. Yeah, I was in a Facebook group with the Suzanne Morphew case, and a little like subgroup formed like by invitation only, and there was just like 7 of us in this group, and we would do like these video phone chat things like Zoom calls. And I thought it was the coolest thing, and then I got kicked out of the group. And I was just like, that's all right. I mean, I have no idea why I got kicked out. I thought it was hilarious. I still think it's hilarious. I'm just like, okay, bitches. So yeah, I have sworn off Facebook for years, and I'm so glad. Especially with all this crap with Zuckerberg now. But yeah, Facebook is just twisted. I mean, it's too much personal information in a public forum because you have logic. Well, I think that there was a competitive thing, and I had a lot of inside information on the Suzanne Morphew case because I was really active in these Facebook groups, like a bunch of them, like as many as I could find. And then people would private message me with like inside scoop information, which may or may not have been authentic and accurate. I wasn't quick to believe anybody because you just can't. You have to have your skepticism. And I called the CBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and I spoke with one of the agents multiple times about any of the information that was shared with me. I shared it with her, and she was great. And I tried not to ask questions. I tried just to give the information. And I followed up with her like after a year. I might have followed up with her again after another year, but she had told me that they were waiting to find the remains before they arrested him. Because remember, they were going to start a trial with Barry Morphew, and then they didn't start the trial, and they sprung him loose because they had information that they were going to find her remains. And then they did. And that was such a shocking surprise. What was that, like a year or two ago, just out of the blue? And then we haven't heard anything about the case since. And I just hope he gets arrested. I mean, it seems so obvious. I mean, sure, it might just look bad, right? But yeah. And then he's like suing everybody. I think he's actively suing everybody right now. And that will go well for him, I'm sure. I think he's suing all of the people that were part of the investigations and part of the courts and all that. Oh, and he's got that really demented attorney. What is her name? Like Iris. And she's got like the creepiest eyes in the world. Like, she'd be pretty if she wasn't so creepy, but she's like super creepy. She likes criminals, and she likes to help them get away with hideous crimes. But I wanted to connect that case over to the Watts case. What was it? Something about it. What I was saying about being in touch with them. The agent did share with me that, it had affected their agency, even though, like, I don't think she or people that she knew well worked directly on the Watts case, but just the Watts case in general. And then that other case, the one with the, I think the woman was a nurse and she had a 1-year-old baby. And the last time she was seen was at Target with the baby in the cart, and like right around Thanksgiving. Was the guy's name Frazier? Was that his last name? Phrase, something like that. And then not only did he slaughter her at the house, but he forced his girlfriend to help him clean up all of the red stuff in the kitchen. And then she flipped on him. And yeah, those two cases were horrific for law enforcement in that area. And then they were really scarred. So I know what it was. Okay, so I was in Kelly Watts the Obsessions live a few days ago, and people were talking about the sand dunes. NK and Watts went on that little trip to the sand dunes. And in your imagination, in the photographs, the sand dunes seem like they could be a cool thing. I know there's very cool sand dunes in Michigan that I've been to more than once. But those sand dunes in Colorado allegedly are not cool at all. It's all over the internet, and I've talked to people who've been there. It's not a nice place. It's like a very bleak place. And I don't know because I haven't been there, but I remembered that where Suzanne Morphew's remains were found was not far from the sand dunes. So I was looking at a map, and I think it's about an hour away. But where Suzanne Morphew's remains were found is this very, very desolate area that they call the Boneyard, because there's just remains dumped there all the time. And the only thing near where she was found and the sand dunes is like a alien observatory. So the fact that NK thought that this was a nice place to take her boyfriend is even more extra creepy. So yeah, if you've been there, if anybody in the chat has been to the sand dunes or knows anything about it, I'd love to get your opinion or your insight. Was Suzanne the one running on video telling Alexa to call 911? We have to program to do 911. Important if we have them and fail. Suzanne Morphew was the 50-year-old woman that went missing on Mother's Day in Salida, Colorado, and her husband, Barry Morphew, was acting sus AF, and she had 2 daughters. And he said that she went on a big bike ride, and he didn't frame, but he set up his 70-year-old neighbor to get involved by having her go over to the house to look for Suzanne. It's always interesting the way the information comes in, like the first person to notice somebody's missing or the first call to 911. And so this woman who was like, I think she was over 70, she seemed like she was in really good health, in really good condition, but I can only imagine what a toll that took on her health. And she was friends with Suzanne. But they were from Indiana, and then they moved to Colorado. Suzanne was from a very wealthy family that owned like a root beer company, and they owned country clubs and such. And then Barry was one of the caddies at the golf course, and there's so many parallels with the Watts case. She was very sick in her late teens. She had cancer and almost died, Suzanne Morphew. So she was like this super rich princess that probably couldn't have kids and might not live too long. So Barry married her, and then they ended up having a couple of kids. And then she had a relapse with the cancer right around the time that she disappeared. So she had just had her second battle with cancer, and she had just beat it again. And I guess that was just too annoying for her significant other. And yeah, the body cam video, that's a good case. And that case will most definitely come back up because he has to get arrested again. He has to, because he hasn't been arrested since her remains were found. Oh, you remember Anna B's? Yeah. So it was during COVID. And so that had a lot to do with the case too, because it was Mother's Day, May of 2020. And, Colorado was one of those places like New York and California and the West Coast where it was like extra lockdown in that state. Like you weren't allowed to go more than a couple miles from your house unless it was just for like groceries or a doctor's appointment. And they had this whole thing where they said that the girls went camping with some friends, and that it just all seemed so staged, so the mom was spending Mother's Day alone because the girls were camping with friends. And then the dad said that he had this building job in Broomfield, Colorado, which is really close to Frederick, the town that the Watts are from. And Broomfield, Colorado is where, anyone who knows the Watts case, it's where Shanann Watts worked at a children's hospital in Broomfield, Colorado. And that's probably where NK first learned of Shanann Watts a year before the familicide. And it appears from all the research that I've done that NK was in a 6-week fitness challenge that Shanann had organized for the children's hospital. So that's, I believe, how NK became obsessed with the Watts family and destroying Shanann, and then the whole thing with Chris Watts. Ugh. Anyway. Oh, you're so nice. Anna B says, I'm so smart. And Annie Ruler's still here. Was Susan the one? Yeah. So I don't know who was running on video telling Alexa to call 911. I have no idea which case that is. I remember Barry went to work on that Sunday, but couldn't work because of the building codes. Tossed her bike down the hill. Okay, not chased in the house. Sorry, mixed up different cases. Interesting. I didn't know that. So yeah. So he said he had this job in Broomfield, which, yeah, in the city of Broomfield, you're not allowed to do any construction on the weekends, period. Especially on a Sunday, because, church, and especially on Mother's Day. I mean, if you were going to get granted any special permission to do construction on a weekend day, you'd have to go through like the city commissioner or something. And, he said he had to like tear this retainer wall apart and rebuild it. And, he had the hotel room in Broomfield, and then he had his employees there. And the whole thing was just like a ruse to dispose of her, I think. And he was acting cagey, and there was like bleach smell in the room when his employee got there. His employees thought he was acting all weird. Yeah, the whole thing was hideous. And then, the body cam footage, I'll search for some of it. I'm sure Paula Plunder has it. The body cam footage from that case, I'll put some in the description because it's some really solid information. Like when they first found the bike at the bottom of the hill, and it wasn't like thrown into the bush. It wasn't thrown into the gully. It was placed in the gully. It was very obvious. It was a very expensive bike. Like, I want to say like a $5,000 or $10,000 mountain bike, very, very high end. And he wasn't going to toss that thing down the hill. I mean, he was so into his money. But yeah, he set it up to try to make it look like, and then he's like, a cat. I think a cat got her. And in the body cam, the cops are talking to him, and he's being so bizarre. And he says something about a lion. And then it sounds like he says, I'm lying. It's just like, oh my God. And then I'll put the Tyson Draper video too, because Tyson Draper was like the hero with his body cam, introducing himself to Barry. And then Barry was like, oh, I'll show you what happened, or what I think might have happened, or what the police think might have happened. Yeah, Tyson Draper was a huge hero on that case, and Barry really went after him hard too, of course. Trying to think what else with that case. The daughter, so one of the daughters she was 16 years old. I want to say her name was Mallory. I think it was like Macy and Mallory, the two daughters. They're just gorgeous. The whole family was gorgeous. But the younger daughter, the 16-year-old, because the older daughter was already at college, the younger daughter was living at her boyfriend's house, which at first to me sounded crazy. But because COVID and because the mom was getting cancer treatments, she couldn't be around her teenager, with germs and school germs and stuff like that. And the boyfriend is on some of the early body cam footage from law enforcement, and he is like the sweetest boy in the world. Absolutely, like hands down the best boyfriend you can imagine. And him and his dad are both like standing in front of the Morphew house talking to law enforcement, and they're trying to be as helpful as possible. And they're not suspecting Barry by any means, but they're just some really good people. And again, it's just crazy when these mofos do these crazy crimes, how many people they hurt, like not just the family, not just the loved ones of the victim, but just all the people that they get entangled into the mess, as part of their like cover, or like they want to get people involved, because that helps with the gaslighting. That helps to muddy the waters, right? They need to rearrest him then. They absolutely need to rearrest him. Yeah. And, he's connected. He has a lot of money, and he has that lawyer, Iris. I forget her last name. Let me grab my phone to look up Iris's name. She's so evil. She's got the Charles Manson eyes, and they're gorgeous. They're like green Charles Manson eyes. Barry Morphew's attorney. And of course, I don't know that he did it. I just think he did it. Oh, I can't remember her name. It's like so close. But if I put Iris in, maybe it'll come up with Iris Eaton, Eytan. So here's a picture of that's Iris Eaton is Barry Morphew's attorney. Here we go. And she seems like she probably has the hots for him too. It seems like everybody had the hots for him. I mean, he wasn't a bad looking guy. But I mean, not by any means. He's actually extremely good looking. But let's see if you can see this picture. Her eyes don't look that weird in this picture, but you can kind of see how weird her eyes look. I've seen other pictures where her eyes look really, really weird. Kind of. She looks a little bit like RFK Jr., in my opinion. Huh, that flashing is weird. But if I go back and I mean, that's just like the picture that comes up on her her business thing. So of course she's not going to have the craziest picture of herself. But let me see if I can pull up a better one before I wrap up here. Images. It's so funny. It wants to give me all these irises. No. I don't want all of your irises. Oh, here's a quick video of her. Sign in to confirm that you're not a bot. This helps protect our community. I don't want to sign in. How do I do it without signing in? That's weird. I guess I can't. I'll set that down and I'll sign off with you guys because I've been on for an hour and I could go on and on. I love hanging out with my homies, but I do have to wake up early tomorrow. So it's just about 10 o'clock. But once I'm on, like, I just want to keep going. I don't want to say goodbye. It's hard. I hate sites that do that. Yeah, she looks cray. She's creepy AF. I mean, to me, it's so obvious that he did it. And he's just such a dirty freaking rat bastard. And she's just such a dirty freaking rat bastard. Like, they would live happily ever after together, probably. But, yeah. Oh my God. The way that man exaggerates and lies is just hilarious. I mean, it's horrible, but it's also hilarious.
Welcome to the 100-degree sweat test. Which one of these two?
This might show me the thing that I was trying to find. The video. Yeah, it's going to. Because, yeah, I think I've watched this video of her before, and it
was a very dedicated psychology student when I was in undergraduate at the University of Arizona. I started to work in mental health hospitals in the county of Pima County in Tucson in order to kind of figure out, is this really what I wanted to do? And at the same time, build my resume. And I needed to make money to support my education. But I had too many incidents where I'd see psychiatrists and nurses really fending for themselves rather than the patients. At around that time, if not later, I changed my major from being a psychologist to being a lawyer because I felt so strongly that I couldn't be part of that system. And I wanted to help people that had mental illness not be treated unfairly. They're already disenfranchised as it was. And I wanted to really help that. And I had a passion for that. And that's what drove me into doing criminal defense. If I had to give a piece of advice to...
That's what drove me into doing criminal defense. So, like, helping crazy people get away with crazy crimes. I mean, what she described about her experience in the psychology field is like nothing that I experienced in the psychology field. And sure, you know, we're all going to have different experiences, but what was it that she was trying to describe, that these other people that she worked with didn't seem like they cared about the patients. They only cared about themselves. I don't know. I just think that's crazy that she's stating that as like a fact of why she had to get out of that field, and kind of using it as an excuse of why she became a criminal defense attorney. People become criminal defense attorneys, in my opinion, because they want to make a lot of money, right?
the young Iris that was starting her.
Okay, wait, maybe I should stop there and stop doing this because that's just too funny. When people talk about themselves in the third person, that's always creepy AF. That's hilarious. Leaving for a fake work trip is first clue. Her bike taken from locked garage and girls out of town. What else is red flag? Morphew. So yeah, there were tranquilizer caps in the dryer. So like he hit her with a tranquilizer gun and then he didn't clean up the evidence very well. And then when the police first allowed him to go into the house just to get some of her clothes, for a scent dog to smell the clothes that were in the hamper, the clothes that were in the hamper was the clothes that he said she was wearing, like her bike outfit, because she didn't have a lot of bike outfits. The information like from the daughters and from the daughter's boyfriend, it's like she had her blue bike outfit and that's what was in the laundry hamper. And that's what he said she wore when she went on her bike ride that day, even though he didn't see her because he left at 6 a.m. and she was asleep. So that was another parallel with the Morphew case and the Watts case, is both of the husbands said that their wives were asleep in bed when they left early in the morning. And it's so creepy to me how asleep in bed is almost like a metaphor for being deceased, that they want to see them that way. She went to the University of Arizona. She's for sure gray. I don't know anything about the University of Arizona. Do I? No, I know about the Thunderbirds. Are they the University of Arizona? That might be. I'll have to look that up. Because the Thunderbirds are crazy. I knew a lot of Thunderbirds in San Francisco and they were from Arizona. Maybe it was the University of Arizona. Oh no, that's hilarious, Anna Bees. Sadly, women often have affairs to get guts to leave. I bet she was ready to divorce him. He wanted it all of hers. So he cheated on her a lot, and she was having an affair with a guy that she dated in high school. And this man was married and had 6 kids, and they were carrying on and acting like they were going to run off into the sunset. And Barry found out, and so he had to do it. She left him no choice. And Anna B says, exactly, Jazz. Anna Ruler says, okay, she may have been the 911. Her Apple Watch had her running into the house. Maybe Alexa can't testify. Maybe, Annie Ruler, maybe. That would be wild if I missed that, because I studied that case inside out and upside down, but it sounds like it might be. So I was going to look up, is the University of Arizona the Thunderbirds? That would be so funny. Since you say the University of Arizona makes people crazy, right? Yep. Thunderbird Scholar Program offers a 4-year full ride scholarship to Arizona universities for high achieving high school graduates. So AI says, when referring to University of Arizona Thunderbirds, it most likely means the athletic teams at the University of Arizona, sometimes called the Thunderbirds, depending on the sport. Oh, that's so funny. No, the Thunderbirds that I knew were all like business vultures. So that's hilarious, Anna Bees, that you knew crazy Thunderbirds too. And then to study psychology at a crazy Thunderbird university. They were all like the weirdest people I'd ever met. Like, I was just like, if these Thunderbirds introduce me to one more Thunderbird, I'm going to freaking die. It's like they were like a flock, a pack. And this, like I said, this was San Francisco. This was, they had all migrated. All the birds had migrated from Arizona to San Francisco to make the big money, big money, big money. No, I am from Phoenix area, Arizona State, University of Arizona, where our rivals, U of A, are Wildcats. Okay, well, I don't know what I was finding. But thanks, Annabise, for the info. So you're being facetious and just saying that they're crazy because they're your rivals. That's cute. Arizona State University is in Sundeville. And my kid's dad, 7 years of cheating and him begging me to sleep with a guy and he would watch. Oh, gross, Annie. I'm so sorry. Laugh my arse off. I did date a nice guy and got guys to escape. Like, did you mean date nice guy and got guts to escape? My kids got to see normal and have modeled mom. Well, I'm so happy that you're living happily ever after, my dear. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap her up since it's 10 o'clock and I got to catch some Z's so I can wake up at the butt crack of dawn. What time? I just have to wake up at 6. It's not that bad. I used to have to wake up before 6 all the time. Remember that job I quit like a year ago? That was insane. That was so crazy. I worked 10-hour days. I had to leave my house every day by 6:30. It was awful. I mean, there are good things about it, but I did it for way too long. Anyway, and I was allowed to do my YouTube while I was there. So that was cool. That's how I was able to start being a content creator because I was making money while I was trying to figure out how to do this. And as you know, I still haven't made any money, but that's okay. That's okay. I am going to try to do a GoFundMe account for the dog. I feel kind of bad doing that because there's so many people with so many problems, and especially like all the fire victims in Los Angeles. But I'm going to go ahead and do it. And then if people want to donate, they're more than welcome to. I do have a couple of cash apps. I think they're in the description of my channel, and maybe I'll start cutting and pasting those cash apps into the description of the videos and just try to encourage people to donate money because, I might, it's nice that I can keep doing this, but it's certainly, it would be helpful to be, getting revenue from it. And I will eventually get the revenue from the stupid YouTube. They need me to go to like the Social Security office to get my Social Security card updated because I don't have my hyphenated married last name on it, which is hilarious because, I've been married for 35 years. It's never been a problem. But it's a problem for YouTube. And I'm just like, how many women have issues like that with their names changing because of marriages and divorces? And men never have that trouble. So it's just one more way to mess with the chicks, right? Adios, Annie Ruler. 4 were my hours for 9 months. Insane. 4 a.m. to 4 in the afternoon. When I worked in a psychiatric hospital, I worked the 7 a.m. shift, and that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. But yeah, anyway, peace out, you guys. Love and light. Thanks so much for coming into my chat. We'll get back on this, won't we? Love seeing you, Jazz. Oh, love seeing you, Annabise. Yes, escrow officer in refi market, East Coast banks. Ouch. Yeah. So one of those Thunderbirds in San Francisco was like a Wall Street shark. And so he was, I don't know if he started working at like 3 every morning or 4 every morning, but because he was on the East Coast, but he was like an absolute hawk with Wall Street. He was making like $50,000 a month. Yeah, he was the one who had the lodge on Donner Lake near where Kylie Rodney lived, and so that was how we got to stay in that lodge on the water for free. Was the Thunderbird who made $50,000 a month. So when he got that house, when he was like applying to rent the cabin, and the guy who owned it asked him how much he earned, and he said 50,000, and the guy thought he meant annually. He was like, no, a month. And this was like a guy in his 20s, and this was a long time ago. This was in the 90s. So that would be, that'd be like $600,000 a year in the 90s, mid 90s. So that'd be like being in your 20s and making probably a couple $1,000,000 a year now, which I'm sure in San Francisco, a lot of people do. It's crazy, huh? Absolutely insane. Hopefully YouTube will back pay. They'll back pay a little bit. I mean, they owe me a few $100. Oh, you're so cute. Thank you, Annie. And they say that they're going to pay me, and every month I think that they're going to pay me because I keep jumping through all the hoops that they have me jump through. It's always something new. So like the name thing is just the most recent one. And I will go to the Social Security office and I will update my Social Security card with my hyphenated married name. And then, they'll probably come up with some other reason to not pay me. So we'll see. I mean, it is a badge of honor to know that I've never done this for the money. I've been doing it for 2.5 years. I've been doing it almost every day, for the most part, every day for 2.5 years. And it's a passion project. It is. And I've said it before, but I'm really happy that I've established the way that I do this, not with the goal of making revenue, and not with the goal of getting a lot of views and clicks and all that stuff, because I really think that ruins a lot of good content creators. And it's sad because there are a lot of great content creators out there, but then you get caught up in that whole thing, like wanting to be a bigger channel, wanting to make more money, and there's no amount that's ever enough because, the sky's the limit. So I think people just get really addicted to the whole thing. I mean, I'm addicted to the whole thing without the money. So anyway, love and light. Don't forget to eat your vegetables, and I'll have the rest of my soup before I go to sleep. And I'll continue to snack on my carrots and celery as much as I can during the day. What else? Drinking my vegetable juice. And I need to make that lentil soup because I have all the ingredients for it. And then I'll get more veggies in me. All right. Sweet dreams, you guys. See you soon. And thanks so much for watching.